Thank you, Vedant. As we speak now, there's almost 400,000 people forced to leave their homes from Rafah with no shelter, no food, no fuel, and no safe place to go. So how could this be different than your insistence, the administration insistence that we have to see a viable plan to evacuate people because you're doing it incrementally. What's the difference between moving 500,000 people as we speak today? We don't know if they're going to move more later on, but basically they're doing it on stages. So what difference for you from the position you were till now? I mean, the consequences are the same, aren't they?
So Nadia, when we talk about a Rafah operation that we would take issue with, we're talking about an operation that is major, that is a direct invasion into Rafah, that is targeting and invading into the urban and dense centers. Again, I will leave it to the IDF to speak to their own operation. We have yet to see a major operation into Rafah, but the concerns and criticisms that we have, those continue to persist, and it's something that we are going to continue to work at with our partners in Israel. These are conversations that are ongoing, and to date, this operation has not happened in large part due to the ongoing conversations that we've been having with the Israelis. And again, just absent a credible plan to get civilians out of harm's way, we've been clear that this is not a major military operation we'd support.
But isn't forcing 500,000 people to move with forcing them to move out of Rafah to a nowhere where there's nowhere is safe, isn't it by itself a violation of international law?
So we have been pretty clear, Nadia, that there can be no forcible relocation of the Palestinian
Well, if they
people.
stay, they're gonna die. I mean, they're moving because they have to move.
That continues to be a tenet of our approach. But ultimately, we do support efforts to support Israel's goal of dismantling Hamas. But like I said, we do not want to see a major operation into Rafah, and we have not seen one yet that we would take issue with. We are continuing to have those conversations with our partners in Israel, though.
Okay, two quick questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the UN worker who was killed yesterday, the UN said that they clearly communicated to Israel where they're moving, the exact movement, and yet one UN worker was killed. And that will bring the total to almost 250. So you still believe that Israel is not targeting aid worker, considering what happened yesterday with the clear communication and what happened with the World Central Kitchen?
So the reports from yesterday evening, Nadia, are incredibly disturbing, and we are very concerned by what we're seeing of the reported strike on a UN vehicle in Gaza that killed one aid worker and injured another. You've heard me say this before, you've heard the Secretary say it, UN and humanitarian workers must be protected, and they need to be able to continue their life-saving work, and we join calls for a full investigation into this incident. I will also say that in these kinds of circumstances, a viable medical evacuation process for humanitarian staff injured in military operations, accidents, or illness is also essential. I will also say around the specifics of this incident, we continue to be in contact with our partners to understand what transpired and how this happened. We still don't have the full details, Nadia, but we expect Israel to follow through with the new IDF coordination cell for real-time humanitarian efforts, and we emphasize that there needs to be a focus on safeguarding designated sites, safeguarding aid personnel and civilians, and we urge Israel to expedite the deconfliction cell full operationalization, which we have not seen that yet.
Okay, and finally, just to follow up what you told Said, you said that the administration worked effortlessly to establish a Palestinian state, and you give an example of the Secretary's visit to the region.
We are working. This is something we are working towards.
Sure.
It's something that we remain deeply focused on, and has been something that I know is a goal of this Secretary's and a goal of this President's.
Yeah. I haven't answered my question yet. So can you tell us before October 7, what exactly the administration did to make sure that the two-state solution is viable and they're working on it?
Nadia, I'm happy to follow up with a clear list of actions that we've taken, but if you just want to look at the focus on this before October 7th, you've heard the Secretary talk about this previously before. Before the October 7th terrorist attacks, many of you were aware the Secretary was intending to go to the region. He had a trip scheduled to visit Israel, to visit the West Bank, to visit Saudi Arabia and some other countries to talk about these very issues, to talk about the issue of normalization, to talk about the issue of Israel's further integration in the region, one that we hoped could be coupled with a two-state solution, one that could be coupled with serious progress for the Palestinian people. Obviously, this brutal terrorist attack by Hamas on the Israeli people derailed some of those efforts in the immediate term. But that is something we continue to remain focused on, and that is why you saw the Secretary almost 6 months ago in Tokyo lay out some clear principles of what the day after this conflict needs to look like and what we expect to see from our partners in Israel, from our partners in the Palestinian Authority, and other partners in the region. Yeah.